This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comments section as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:08 PM. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowens,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Bradley,
Present.
Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Doyle,
Present.
Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, so can somebody remind me, did I ever hit the gavel?
Yeah.
I did hit it.
Oh, I wasn't.
Okay, so just to ensure, the meeting is called to order officially at 6:09 PM. Secretary Triplett has called the roll accordingly. All of us are present. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? And I believe, Vice President Bowens had a suggestion.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with consent agenda items. So all of the items we would vote at once.
And is that, my
Second.
recommendation would be that board business stand alone?
Okay, Madam President,
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with consent agenda items, separating board business.
Okay, so what has been recommended is that we do board business as it stands. All other reports, staff report S1, S1, F1, F2, T1, T2, and H1 would all be one vote. Am I understanding correctly?
That is correct.
Is there a support to that?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Vice President Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Treasurer.
Treasurer Bradley, my apologies. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none,
President Robinson,
you have the floor.
is it possible to include staff report B3 in that consent?
Any objections to that, Vice President Bowens? That's the committee of the whole structure. The only item that I really wanted to, the only items I wanted to stand alone was staff report B1 and the resolution for the Department of Education. Because I think B1 needs some discussion. We never made a suggestion for who to nominate. And then the resolution, I just want to make sure that that's a standalone item because of the weight that it presents. Are you comfortable with including the committee as a whole in that?
Yes, we can go ahead and do that. So does that mean I have to repeat everything I just said?
No.
Okay.
Vice President Bowens, are you okay with that? I mean, Treasurer Bradley, are you okay with that as well?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so to clarify, the motion has been made that the agenda be approved with B1 and the resolution to protect the Department of Education as standalone items. Staff reports B3, S1, F1, F2, T1, T2, and H1 would all be consent items voted at one time. We will work through the agenda and take that vote once at the end after H1 has been read and presented. We'll do all votes at once. The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. If there's no other questions, comments, or concerns, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next is review of the Board of Education norms. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. The 7 norms of collaboration are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intent. Next we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here who is present to make a public comment on an agenda item? You have the floor and he is coming to assist you with ensuring your mic is on.
Did you want to read the statement? Or-
Yes, I can.
I appreciate you.
You're welcome. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had their opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to natalie.singer@bhas.org. You have the floor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tiana Batiste Waddell, 330 Colfax Avenue, South Bend, Indiana. And this is in regards to the strategic plan update. That's an agenda item. What is the status of the partnership agreement? The strategic plan should be focused on that partnership agreement. It ends in November of this year. The meeting was held in November with the Michigan Department of Education, and they clearly indicated in that meeting, because I went, that Benton Harbor area schools did not meet the 18-month benchmark. So did that decision remain the same? Based on the declining enrollment, academic performance at all levels, especially the high school, declining graduation rate, increase in exclusionary practices, suspensions and expulsions in the district, based on all of that evidence, there may not be any schools left in 5 to 10 years, or the fact that we can enjoy not having a deficit. It seems that you're turning your back on the data. The last meeting or 2 meetings ago, Principal Roquette mentioned that the school was moving in the right direction. When I look at the data, she decreased in ELA by 1% in 1 year. Was she just talking about mathematics? Because that doesn't look like we're moving in the right direction if you're going down. Why aren't you being transparent with the community with what is actually happening academically? Approximately 90% of the students are not proficient in reading or mathematics. At the high school, 0% proficiency in mathematics. Will the schools in the partnership agreement meet the 36-month outcomes? Will any of them face reconstitution in November of this year for not meeting the mark? And just so that the community knows, for a district assigned a partnership agreement, if reconstitution is imposed, there is a possibility that a school could be closed. That's huge. Benton Harbor area schools might be back where they were just 10 years ago, fighting to keep schools open. So why aren't you being transparent with the community about the data? MLK, FPE, Fairplain Middle School, Benton Harbor area schools, and Cape. They all can risk being closed in just less than a year. This spring is the last opportunity for the district to get out of the partnership agreement with the state, or they will face reconstitution, risking possible closure of your schools. So why are you, again, the Board of Education, accepting this lack of transparency from this administration? Jax Aspire Foundation and several citizens that have signed a survey demand that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recommend and vote for the termination of Dr. Kelvin Butts in order to save your district from reconstitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Singer, just a reminder, can you ensure that you start the timer right when they begin speaking? It's the only way I can monitor it. All right. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? All right, hearing none, we'll proceed. First thing we have on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes. Today, we are approving special session 1725, regular session 12325, and special session 12825. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as noted?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as noted.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, as a reminder, our protocol as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Our first item of business under board business is the MASB Board of Directors elections packet. We did discuss it last week briefly. I did ask that everyone kind of look over those individuals that are running. My understanding is that we are Region 6. So there are 2 individuals in Region 6 that are running, and those individuals are Tiana Harrison from Kalamazoo Public Schools. Just a brief reminder, she indicated her name is Tiana Harrison. She's the current board president at Kalamazoo Public Schools Board of Education. She brings over a decade of governance and leadership experience, appointed in 2014 and reelected in 2020. She's had the honor of serving her community in various capacities, including vice president, secretary, and treasurer of her board. And then as well, we have Miss Elizabeth Odell from St. Joseph County ISD in St. Joseph County. And her initial statement, she indicated that she has been active with St. Joseph County ISD for 27 years. She's taken advantage of opportunities to learn about best practices for serving and supporting the education process in communities. So those are their individual, just a brief, quick summary of who they are, but there is more detail. I did indicate last week that I did have a recommendation. My personal vote would be for President Harrison from Kalamazoo Public Schools. However, of course, this is a table where we can actually have a discussion. So if there's anyone who would prefer Ms. Odell and like to make that recommendation as well, the table is open for discussion. Trustee Gavin?
President Robinson, I just want to share that I've read the bios from both. And I'm particularly impressed with Tiana Harris because of her dedication and focus on the mental health and well-being of our students. That is a top priority for me. And I would appreciate having somebody who centers that need as well. So I support Tiana Harrison as well.
Okay, so would you like to go ahead and make a motion regarding staff report B1? Are you recommending that she be placed in the blank to represent Region 6?
Sure, I would like to, if there's. Yep,
You have
if
the
there's
fl-
no one. I would like to make a motion that we approve staff report B1 with the recommendation that Tiana Harrison will represent Region 6 on the MASB board.
Is there a second or support?
I so move.
All right, the motion has been made by trustee Gavin and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Trustee, Treasurer Bradley.
I think I've met both, and I've met Tiana Harrison, had a conversation with her in my previous term, and I think reading her bio, both of them are excellent candidates, but reading her bio and it was very extensive. Like I said, we had 2 good choices, but I do value that, her experience and some of the things that she did say. So I know that Miss Odell, I think she did send out a email to us as well. But I look like I said, looking at the bio, we got 2 excellent candidates.
Thank you. And I have had opportunities to speak with Ms. Harrison and get to know more about her one-on-one in previous MASB trainings. As president, it's a different lane that you walk, so we've had to kind of talk to each other and talk about various issues and things. And so she does have a strong focus on ensuring that all needs of children, the whole child is met. And so because I've had an opportunity to have those personal conversations and kind of discuss things from a board presidential level, as well as her actually actively being in a public school district and serving as president. Like I said, Miss Odell is amazing, but her focus has been more so the ISD. I think it's just extremely important that we have a board president of a public school similar to Benton Harbor area schools, although there's variances in that seat to recommend to represent us. And so I would support Gavin and Bradley as well. Secretary Triplett.
Yeah, I too had an opportunity to meet both of them. And Ms. Harrison, I think if a vote for Ms. Harrison would put us at the table behind the scenes. And I think that we would have access to her from Kalamazoo Public Schools, like you said. There's a difference in the public school district and the ISD. And so those voices need to be at the table. She's very passionate, if you will. I met her prior to her becoming the president of the Kalamazoo Public Schools Board of Education. And she was very new and young at her first term as president. But she's been in there fighting for some time. So I could support that wholeheartedly.
All righty, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote. I will read the resolution as presented. Staff report B1, subject Michigan Association of School Boards Board of Directors vote dated for today. Reason for board consideration. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education must vote to elect representatives for the Michigan Association of School Boards, MASB Board of Directors. Facts and analysis. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board has met and discussed the biographies of candidates presented by MASB. They have come to a consensus on who to select and now move to vote on the matter. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education has one vote to put forth to any candidate in Region 6 for the 2025 election. Policy reference none. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to select Tiana Harrison to represent Region 6 on the MASB board, approved for presentation to the Board of Education. As a reminder, the motion was made by Trustee Gavin and supported by Secretary Triplett. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Madam President, the motion carried.
All right, the next resolution is B2, board resolution to support the protection of the U.S. Department of Education. Benton Harbor Area Schools, Berrien County, Michigan, the district. A regular meeting of the Board of Education of the district. The board was held in Benton Harbor High School Library, 870 Colfax, within the boundaries of the district on the 11th day of February 2025 at 6:00 p.m. The meeting was called to order by President Robinson. All board members were present. The following preamble and resolution were offered. We'll indicate who has made the initial motion in those blanks. Whereas the elected school board members of the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognize the vital role of the U.S. Department of Education, DOE, in advancing educational equity, supporting state and local education systems, and ensuring the civil rights of all students. Whereas the closure or significant reduction of the DOE, the Department of Education, would have a devastating consequences for millions of students, educators, and families across Michigan and the United States. Whereas every child deserves the opportunity to learn and grow regardless of their background, and the Department of Education is essential in ensuring that the vision of public education remains a priority. Whereas the incoming administration has proposed potential cuts to the Department of Education's budget, prompting concern among parents, teachers, and school board members regarding the future of public education. Whereas the Department of Education administers over 100 billion annually to state schools and higher education institutions, which strengthens public education systems and directly benefits families and communities. Whereas the Department of Education enforces critical civil rights laws that protect students from the discrimination based on race, gender, disability, or language, including Title IX, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, and Title I funding. Whereas closing or crippling the Department of Education would disrupt billions of dollars in federal funding, disproportionately impacting low-income communities and exacerbating educational inequities. Now therefore be it resolved that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education strongly urges congressional representatives to reject any proposals to eliminate or weaken the U.S. Department of Education. Be it further resolved that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education advocates for the strengthening of the Department of Education's capacity to serve all Americans, ensuring that every student has access to high-quality public education. Is there a motion to approve staff report B2 or the resolution B2, board resolution to support the protection of the U.S. Department of Education?
So moved.
The motion has been made by trustee Doyle. Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by trustee Doyle and supported by trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I would like to, I'll go to Vice President Bradley.
Treasurer.
Treasurer Bradley,
It's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
I'm
I'm sorry.
You don't. I was gonna say this is, I'm glad that we as a board are, taking steps on this with everything that's going on at a federal level. You have, various, no matter what side of the aisle you voted on or what you believe or how you tend to vote, federal education dollars impact every socioeconomic level. And, the big talk of it is free and reduced price lunches for our students. And that's just, everywhere. And the state can only do so much with their funding. So I'm glad that we are taking that stand.
Thank you. I would like to thank trustee Doyle for bringing this to our attention. I know I believe she individually emailed each of us. And the majority of us, if not all of us, signed individually. I also would like to thank Vice President Bowens for the recommendation that we take a stand as a full board, being that we had already collectively signed on individually. I think that it is a powerful statement to be made. So I just want to thank each of you for being open. I know that sometimes we say that we shouldn't be too political in our seats, but we have been elected. We are elected officials, and our responsibility is to protect our children here specifically in Benton Harbor area schools. But any opportunity that we can give to a greater voice for Michigan public school students or on a federal level, I think would be an excellent opportunity for us as advocates to change in the field of education. So I just thank you all. Do plan to vote yes, and so I'm hoping that the board will support as well. And then I believe there was a comment from trustee Gavin.
Thank you so much, President Robinson. I too am in full support and grateful for this. We are looking, billions of dollars are going to go somewhere. And sometimes people tell us to stay out of politics, but when you look at your check and 30% is taken out of your check and you're paying 6% sales tax and this tax and that tax, that is minding the business that pays you. And we want to make sure that dollars are coming back into our communities, and investing in our children is the greatest resource that's the greatest resource that we can be doing with our money, right? And so if we don't take a stand for our children, we'll be looking at larger class sizes, cuts to mental health support, cuts to Pell Grant support, cuts to, so many different things. I was looking at some notes here on that. We cannot afford to be silent on this issue. And so we are not looking to cripple our states. Our states will still have power in our schools, and our local school boards will still have power. But we want to make sure that the dollars that go to the federal government are also invested in our children. And so I'm really glad and really proud to see that our board is unified on this issue, and that we are looking to make sure that the dollars are invested in our schools, both state dollars and federal dollars. I'm really excited about this resolution.
Madam President,
Trustee Rocket Martin?
might I ask, so we would send this letter to the state of Michigan, to the Department of the Education, and then, or send it directly to Washington, DC?
So the actual, when we go in to sign on the electronic letter that you have sent, it already has each of us listed. But then at the bottom, it specifically says that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education signs as a collective board. Because each of us has signed,
Right.
or the majority of us has signed,
But we-
but it would be noted that it's specifically the entire board. And so I'm supposed to have a call with, the gentleman this evening to discuss it further, because they're planning to present this letter. They're planning to present this letter, in the next week. Charlie from MEJC. I'm supposed to speak with him after the board meeting. Yes, Angela, did you give this gentleman my phone number? Because I didn't know if it was an automated prompt. I text back and I said, is this a real person or a spam text? I didn't know I didn't know. Go ahead.
No, it's actually a young lady, and
Oh, it's a young lady. Okay, thank you. I didn't have a clue.
she reached out earlier to let me know that they will be delivering it on the 18th around about noon, and we're trying to get some people together.
I figured they were probably trying to get me to pull up somewhere. So we would be signed on as a board, but we can also send a copy of this resolution to the office that they're going to deliver. We can forward a copy of our letter so that it can be included in what they provide.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for the board resolution to support the protection of the U.S. Department of Education?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Madam President, motion carries.
All right, awesome. Thank you all. And again, thank you, Trustee Doyle, for sharing that with us, the opportunity with us. And thank you, Vice President Bowens, for the recommendation that we do it as a collective board. Next on the agenda, as a reminder, everything from this point will take one vote. The committee of the whole proposed schedule, that is in your agendas. I will read the staff report so that everyone is aware on exactly what is being voted on. And then we'll proceed to the next staff report. We're gonna take them all in one vote. Okay, so, a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the district was held in Benton Harbor High School Library within the boundaries of the district on the 11th day of February 2025 at 6:00 p.m. The meeting was called by myself. All members are present. The following preamble and resolution were offered by, I'll indicate which members. Whereas the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education will hold work sessions to conduct board business in accordance with Board Policy 0122. Board Policy 0122 provides that the board may change board procedures and any other matter relative to effective functioning of the board. Now therefore be it resolved that, one, in previous school years, the board has held work sessions to conduct board business. Two, it is recommended that the board maintain work sessions which will serve as committee of the whole and restructure the work sessions according to the attached committee of the whole work session schedule. Three, all resolutions and parts of this resolution insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution B and the same are hereby rescinded. And so essentially what we're doing is maintaining our work sessions. Our work sessions will be used as the committee meetings as indicated on your individual proposal that Trustee Gavin gave you. So this would eliminate the need for those individual hour and hour and a half committee meetings. Committee meetings will be during your work session meetings, essentially. So at this time, I'm asking, we'll move forward with the agenda, and then we'll proceed unless there's some type of confusion or clarity needed. Secretary Triplett.
It was my understanding that the committee of the whole work sessions that when the representative came from MASB is that you still do have these committees. You have individuals that meet with the superintendent or directors or what have you. So it's not like an official meeting, but there has to be something that is done prior to in order for us to bring it to the table. Not just bring it to the table, but have the discussion prior to, so you would know as the president, we would know what's actually coming before us.
Correct.
So we would still go through with the committees, but they won't be like a set meeting.
So right now, our committees as they stand don't have a chair. You all have not had an opportunity to meet to elect or to select a chair. In the event there's any disagreement on who the chair of the committee should be, it would have to come before the board table so you all can take a formal vote.
Right.
We've never had that issue. Most of the time, there's a understanding within the committee of who is willing to step up and who we're willing to support for that position. But the chair would have the accountability and responsibility for ensuring that their section of that agenda is put together with, with their individual director and Dr. Butts. And then I would not get that final information until the work session agenda is presented to me. So the committees are gonna have to do the work of choosing your chair so that person, because that's a lot of accountability for that person.
Madam President, I did ask you to take into consideration one of the critical pieces, I think, is in the finance of the district, and I think that it should be something separate within itself, because the finance committee is indirectly a part of all of the committees. If the committees have to, if money is being requested to be spent, they're doing this budgeting piece, and I think that we need to keep a close eye on that. And the treasurer is the person that leads that from BHAS, is the person that leads the finance committee. And so I just think that, where we are right now, I don't want us to lose it. Our eye on it, having our eye on our finance committee. I think that, and in looking at our finance committee, I know that you have loads and loads of things to do. The vice president is like the sub over all committees in particular, but I really think that the treasurer and the president, if no one else, and someone else that would be a part, that would want to be a part of it, I think that should be a separate committee, because you guys, those two individuals need to be on top of this finance. We can't, and work closely with Director Brock Carter, who gave us some great news from my understanding last week. So I would like for you to take that into consideration, and how that might look.
So the Finance and Facilities Committee will remain merged because we've taken that vote. However, if there's something specific that committee needs to meet on that is prior to coming before the work session, this does not limit your committee from doing any additional work that it may need to do. So if there is some extra additional work that the Finance and Facility Committee needs to sit and talk about outside of the work session before coming to us, or anything, if there's some type of meeting that you all think you need, you're not prevented from scheduling a particular meeting to do that. But the finance and facilities meetings the committees are gonna remain merged because we took that vote to do so.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone's clear. If there's something big we're working on, you don't have to wait until the work session to deal with it. If it's a smaller meeting that's needed before you all come before us to ensure you know what you want to discuss with us. But in saying that, I don't want to get in a situation where every month, every committee needs a small meeting before we come to work session, because we're trying to figure the system out, and we're trying to make sure that we're being as effective and efficient with our meetings as possible. Vice President Bowens, did you have a question or comment?
I just want to confirm that you guys stated that staff They would have to come to the committee as a whole, but the main meeting. they would-
So what Dr. Buss has recommended is that staff would be a committee of the whole because that's essentially where they're gonna be needing to provide most of the clarifications. The expectation is that when we come to regular board meeting, we've already gotten clarification needed during the work session, or we've emailed additional questions or whatever the case may be. We've already done the background work and homework. Any additional questions that may arise would be, it would be solely on Dr. Butts to answer those questions with us. So he is asking that his team not have to be at the regular board meeting because they're gonna be in the work sessions with us and providing those clarifications and details during that time. My argument would be that our superintendent should be competent to run his meeting without his directors, if he feels that that's something he should do, he can do. And if he's making the recommendation, I have no objections. I think that that would take quite a bit of load off of the staff. It would also get us out of the potential of us directing questions to them or making comments about what administration is or is not doing because we only have one employee. And so I support Dr. Buss' recommendation that they not have to be present. He thinks he's strong enough to stand alone. This will give us an opportunity to see that. But as the chief of this district and the superintendent, he should be able to answer every question we have with or without his team, and he's saying it's something he can do. So this
Okay.
will be a challenge for
I-
him.
You know, I want to say this, and no pun, no shade, no nothing. I have a, I have a question that I'm gonna ask. Never mind, watch what they do. That's all right.
He is recommending that they not have to be present. Now, if we get through the first one or two meetings and we determine that they are needed, then that will be under his leadership to say that
So-
they need to be present. It doesn't mean that they will never be here. He may say there's a meeting where, based on what we're discussing, he wants them present. But he is giving us a heads up.
So I want answers. I don't want, I will get back to you. I will get back to you. And I hope I don't sound hard or.
You don't, but what I would suggest is that you, in having a work session that, sir, I think you asked me a question and now
I'm
you're
sorry, I
you're
was-
side talking with,
Madam President, I still
Treasurer
have the floor.
Bradley. Okay.
I was just stating that as a general broad, it wasn't a
No,
question.
yeah, no, and that's a very valid point. What I would ask for the board to do, Vice President Bowens, is have those questions together at the work session. Any question that is not answered at the work session should be sent to Dr. Buss in advance. That will give him every opportunity to be able to answer every question that we have. Secretary Triplett.
Yeah, I think that, I can support it and I support what Vice President Bowens is saying, because the bottom line is simply this: we just have to keep it real. And I've said this, and it none of this stuff that we're saying, or I can speak for myself, I don't think that any of us think that we're saying is personal. But when the superintendent should be able, after work session, to answer any question. He should know this. That's his responsibility. And so I don't know what the purpose is as far as people not coming because of the time or to take them off, but the superintendent wants that work. And if something else comes up that we have a question, he should still be the one that's responsible for answering that question. We don't have to send it, I know you're recommending, if
Yeah,
it comes to you, you send it early.
But
if
yeah,
something
but
comes
that's
to
what I'm
the table,
saying. He should be able to, he should be able to stand 10 toes down and represent his district because he's indicating he doesn't think his directors are needing to be present. And so that's what he's saying he's going to do. That's why he's saying he doesn't need them here. But I just want to remind everyone, we've kind of gone off on a side tangent within the last 2 to 3 minutes. The resolution has nothing to do with the staff. It's only about the actual work sessions. And so the internal organizational operation as to whether they're present or not is not what we're taking a vote on
Right.
tonight. We're just voting on the restructuring of the work session that's indicated in staff report B3. So we're gonna proceed. So we'll be taking that as a part of our consent agenda vote. Up next, we have a MASB Winter Institute recap being provided by Treasurer Bradley. You have the floor.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to try to be quick as possible so we can stay efficient. I'm going to do a quick summary in accordance with policy 0175.1, school board conferences, conventions, and workshops. And that's basically saying that, we have to come back and do a report. I had the opportunity to attend 4 classes. I think I've taken these classes before. CBA 248, building board effectiveness, team building. And they changed the title of that, communications and conflict. So I think they added communications and conflict. CBA 259, creating trust. CBA 310, budget anatomy and shortfalls. And CBA 103, basic school finance. Some key takeaways: CBA 103, basic school finance, describing the budget process, the budget breakdown, and how to navigate the school budget and where the revenue sources come from for school districts. For your all information, the state is considering in this year's state budget to take the student foundation allowance up to $10,000 per student from the 9,000, I think 600. Yeah, 9,600. So they're thinking about doing that. We also discussed how millages are calculated and how they can help when we try to pass a bond to help taxpayers know how much they're going to be paying. We discussed how the state breaks down the sources of education funding, fund balance protocol, and putting a policy in place to ensure it's at a good level. I don't know if we have one in place. I've been checking the policy manual, and that's probably something we can discuss later on, Dr. Butts. And the goals and our vision should be matching the budget. Staggering major purchases so that we won't have larger expenses at the end of the life cycle or a lot of repair bills. So basically, if we buy a bunch of brand new buses, staggering them out. CBA 248, we discussed various ways of building effective board teams and having a healthy team dynamic. And we also discussed ways to handle conflict at the board table. We discussed Tuckman stages of development, storming, forming, norming, performing, and adjourning. I know that comes up a lot at the table. And they even had actually, fixed one that said reforming, if you have one or two new board members or somebody returning to the board, you're reforming. So that was something. Using empathy, the DISC assessment, and Madam President, that's probably something we could look at as far as one of our retreats, doing it with the cabinet as well. Conflict resolution, and that's usually in the storming phase, and here's one that somebody from another district has said that they, did in conflict, when they had a conflict with another board member, was there's a time and place to say and do certain things. And so basically, keeping certain things away from the board table and discussing after the board meeting. CBA 259, I know some people were saying they had trust issues with some things. And this, centered around creating trust at the board table and how we can build trust amongst each other. If you look in your books, I got like three handouts. So I did come bearing gifts from that. You may have these already. 20 strategies for developing team trust. It's the first one. There's a trust self-assessment that you probably all can take in your spare time, and building blocks of high-performing schools. And I think this is one thing we should try to keep, at the forefront, that building blocks of high-performing schools. Let me see, where am I at? And we talked about social capital. And then they had a good discussion on public schools, organizations under mistrust and the reasons why. And then they also discussed how chain of command plays into trust, modeling relational trust and how that flows to other groups, and discuss the trust cycle as well. Strong levels of relational trust, 1 in 2 chance of making significant reforms. Weak relationships, 1 in 7 chance of making gains. So we can have a strong level of trust with each other and trust in the district that's going to give us a lot of significant reforms. Discuss ways board can build trust amongst each other before and after board meeting, dinners, riding to retreats, and other social activities. No board business, just social time. And we've done that before, especially in my previous term, where we went out to dinner and we just sat and had conversations, and just make sure that we can kind of talk. And that's probably something we probably can look into again if it needs be. And finally, CBA 310. This class talked about the anatomy of the budget and how the budget is developed and the different function areas. And that's the end of that. And I just want to put a plug in real quick while I have the floor. MASB is going to have a virtual webinar coming up on the 27th of February to discuss after the state of the address by the governor. they're going to do a virtual a virtual webinar to discuss, what she did discussed on educational things. Then the other thing I want to put in a plug in is the Spring Institute coming up in May. I know I will be attending. I know Trustee Rocket Martin is attending. So if y'all, don't have anything going on, and the major one is going to be in October, and that's definitely a good time. So everybody at the table can attest to that. We've had a good time with that. So, any questions, comments, concerns?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, awesome. Moving right along, under the superintendent section today, we have a update from Discovery Enrichment Center being provided by Principal Delandria Patterson. You have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to be here. Please forgive my voice. I just got over the flu last week. I was out all week. Thank God I'm able to stand. Because if you know about the flu and body aches, I was down, honey. But I prepared a video for you all to give you some highlights on what's going on at deck. And I would like to thank Mr. Nicholas Gunn, wonderful, talented young man who assists me with making this video. So sit back and enjoy. And I am here for questions. Okay, these numbers, one of these numbers with me or reading mastery. Can you go over them again? Like I said, how awesome our students are doing from so awesome women. Sure, Principal Patterson. I'd be happy to share that information with you. So what I discovered is that in the fall, as we started this new reading mastery program, a lot of the students probably were not very familiar with it, of course, but we started off with 41 students who tested in the pre-programmed lessons for the first lesson. But jumping to the winter, we decided to do the placement test again, and we discovered that that number dropped all the way down to 3. So we have 41 in the winter who tested at the pre-programmed one, but in the fall, but in the winter, we only had 3. That's a drop of students of about 38 students who are no longer testing in the pre-programmed lessons. Okay, for us. So that means that 38 of our students have shown growth since the fall. That means when we say, I know sometimes when we say drop, we think like, oh, wait, decrease. So something decreased or something fell. But that shows us that our students are where they need to be in the winter. So we are super proud that we have 38 students that no longer have to do the pre-test, which is at the beginning. They are where they should be now. Yes, Ms. Patterson, very well put. We have many students who are no longer testing the pre-programmed lessons. Some of those students have jumped up to pre-program 21, but most importantly, in the kindergarten lessons, we started off with only 3 children who tested at kindergarten 1 level. But now we have 36 students who are testing at the kindergarten 2 level. And can you say and Principal Patterson? We had 2 students who tested at the kindergarten 15 lessons, but now we have 14 students who tested at the kindergarten 15 lessons. That means there was an increase of 12 students in kindergarten 15 and an increase of 33 students in kindergarten 1. So our students have been growing with the reading mastery program so far. So we thank all of those who are responsible for bringing that program to us, and we're looking forward to more growth. In the Discovery Enrichment Center, we do a lot of great things to recognize our students' academics, their behavior, and just overall following our expectations. One of the things we have is the academic wall, where our students are recognized for their academic achievement, anything they're doing, testing or overall academics in their class. Every month, at the end of every month, we recognize our student of the month and we do our PBA celebration. On top of recognizing our staff of the month as well. Yeah, we take academics very serious. Yeah. But it's breathing. Your backpack can't reach me, please. Okay. First of all. Look at them. Mhm. Okay, thank you for reading to me. As we know, math is a vital part of the academic process. Which that, tell me which one we have for that. All right, story one. So that's. Equal. So name 74 plus 3 equals 7. So if I count these provide at least 3 houses, like 7. All right. 9. All right, good. There's a little more. What about this? Next, which one is this? So. Plus. So if I count these. So this two is gonna be better. Yes, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, that's good. It's there. Are you gonna count for me? That's good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Oh, 10. Awesome. Can't do this now. This one. What you got? 5.3. 5.3 equal to 8. Good job. So if I count these, they're gonna get 8. Yeah. 5, 6, 8. Awesome job. Thank you also make sure we include our family and community when it comes to doing events here at our school. Like, for example, our January family event night was our math night, where friends are able to come in and learn the different things that they do in the classroom when it comes to math. And this month, we have not Black History Family Night, but we're going to talk about. We also had a big collaboration project with the city of Prince Harbor, where our teacher in the house collab with our classrooms to do a picture drawing for our trash program. Can you talk more about that in the house?
Yes, it was a really amazing opportunity for our students. Mr. Nicholas Gunn came along with some other individuals from the city of Ann Arbor, and they talked to our children about pollution and what it was, and how to take care of our elders, where we should put it. They talked about Oxford and what they're doing with that. And the students had an opportunity to use their artistic ability to draw pictures of what a clean Benton Harbor looked like, or a beautiful Benton Harbor would look like to them in their mind. And so, after they all drew their pictures, Mr. Gunn, along with some other people, are going to choose a picture to turn into a sticker that will be used by residents of Benton Harbor to put on their large size garbage. That's out. So the students were involved, they were excited. I think they learned a lot. It was just a really good opportunity. We even practiced information. After lunch, our student comes and they brush their teeth. They keep going about that, please.
They're thinking, we come in every day and we're team after they eat lunch. And they're getting really good at getting good team brushing. It's fun to see these kids become independent in a skill that's gonna affect them for the rest of their life. They're learning about how to brush, why it's important to brush, and it's becoming a habit. Once you create habits, it changes and impacts how you can pay attention in school, if your teeth don't hurt. And then when you're in a daily routine like this, I think it helps with a lot of other things, like if you have tooth pain, you can't learn. And so we're starting this program, and it's been amazing and very rewarding and impressive.
People in the Center Enrichment Center, I still have an opportunity to learn with all of them, like that. Well, look at these. These are lowercase letters. Can you tell me the letters that are on this page? Can you tell me the letters that are on this page? What about this? Watch me for a second. What letter is this? 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 These are capital letters. You know the name of this letter. Tell me the name. Very good. You see that sign on the wall right there? Yeah. What is that sign? In a That's amazing. Right.
Well, as you can see, I'm very proud of the thing. It's a tearjerker for me because we do so much of that. I didn't even think of. It's an awesome thing. I love my babies. But it's a great feeling because we are actually learning at that. A lot of times people look at preschool and kindergarten as, oh, it's just play, or they just learn through play. But as you can see, my babies are really reading. That's nothing fake. That's nothing staged. It literally was we did that in one day, and it was what it was. No scripts. It was gonna be what it was gonna be, and we got that together. What questions do you have?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I just want to applaud you. Me and you are in the same age bracket, so I remember you walking that hallway in the school.
Yes.
And to see you as the administrator and seeing your impact does something to me. I am disappointed from you this Saturday, but yeah. But I just want to say I commend you, and I also commend you, Dr. Butts, because it proven effective leadership. And we're seeing the results of Dr. Butts' transparency and recommendation and leadership and believing and trusting you. So thank you and congratulations,
I
Dr.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
I also like to commend you.
Can you pull your mic a
I
little?
also would like to commend you and your building on the work that you're doing. I have a new appreciation for preschool. I sub preschool sometime at the Y. I've had it in my building before, but I never really interacted that much with the kids. But you guys have your hands, your job cut out for you. And so I applaud you and your staff for the work that you're doing with our Benton Harbor kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Treasurer Bradley.
Principal Patterson, great job. I mean, when last term I was on, I toured y'all building and very impressed. And I remember, it was some things that they had to move some stuff around. And everybody was like, why are they moving you back to the preschool center? But your building is always, every time I go in there, it's clean. The kids are interacting, they're learning. And when I looked at that video, it made me go back to my preschool years. And I, going way back to I went to Tri-County Head Start over Hager Shores and way out in Spinks Corner. And they made that experience, it just laid a foundation. And I'm glad y'all are laying that foundation, because when those kids get older and they look back, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, I remember going here and Miss Patterson teaching me this and doing this. So keep up the excellent work. I'm glad they had that video. And Dr. Butts, I want to say, can y'all start doing that for every school? And that's gonna be
Oh, no, that's only a deck thing.
no, y'all gonna do it for every school. But no, it was an excellent video. And stay encouraged and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Bro.
Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. Principal Patterson, I've always been impressed with you and with what you've done with our students and your staff. I can easily tell that the students are happy there. They're comfortable with you. That shows that you are not just in your office, that you are really interacting with them and engaging with them. And it really speaks to your entire staff that I've seen, and the passion. Even in your office, your assistant is no joke, very serious about what goes on in that building. I do have a question. I toured there before. There was a room, and I'm not sure if you still have it. I'm just curious if you do. There was a room, I think they were starting, or I could be wrong, but I think they were starting a room for pregnant moms can you share a little bit about that?
So, so this year, I'm really not sure. Well, the Shannon Hoover was over it, but she was moved to a different position. So I'm really not sure about what the status of that is now as far as the grant. But when we did have it, when Mrs. Quandra King was over it, the year before, not last year, but the year before when I was principal, before that, we had a program where our parents would come in once a week on Tuesday. And when they didn't come in, they'll come in once a week, and Miss Quandra King will go to their house once a week. So they'll come in on Tuesdays, and she'll read a book, like as a group, in a group setting with them. They will get a snack, and then they will go over activities that the mom can do with the child at home. And they were able to come from like newborn to 3 years old, because our preschool program starts at 4. And then she would give them a calendar of like activities they can do every day with their baby at home for every month. So I'm not really sure of the status of what happened. I did ask about that in the beginning, and I don't really know what happened as far as getting it back up and running. But it was very effective and fun, and I was gonna bring my baby, to join it as well. But Mrs. King, she's in a different position now, and so is Miss Hoover.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. That's such an awesome program. I hope that somehow we can bring that back. Even, pregnant moms reading to their child before birth makes a huge difference in their development. So really grateful. Kudos to Nick Gunn. He's always, I don't know how he's able to do so much in the community, but just doing an amazing job. Thank you.
Yes. And also, I would like to shout out my 2 girls, Miss Mitchell, my family and community advocate, and my administrative assistant. That's the first person you see you walk in, always have a smile. Miss Tyler, them on my right and my left. Them my girls. I appreciate you all for coming and support.
So I would like to also thank you for coming. we did request to have more presentations from our schools so that we can actually see the amazing things that you all are doing. I know that we have very serious conversations at the board table, and sometimes based on concerns we may express or concerns expressed by the public, people would think that our district is crashing and on its way to closure. And so our principals have done an amazing job at coming in and highlighting the amazing things that you all are actually doing in your buildings, hands-on to support our students. And it's helpful for us to see how those things are being operationalized. So I just thank you for coming forward, for having the level of passion that you have, for allowing us to actually witness one of our students reading. He's very tiny, so it's extremely exciting to see the work and the passion. My child was a student of that school, and so I know that it's a strong school and that you guys truly do care about our students. So I just want to thank you for bringing that positivity because we need it. And I think the
Thank you.
public needs to know that great things are happening at Benton Harbor Area Schools. So I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Secretary Triplett.
I too want to say that I'm so very, very proud of you, Ms. Patterson, and your leadership, you know, in that brief transition and you leaving that building was to me a mistake. You know, just for me, I think we lost a lot in your absence. And I'm so glad that first and foremost that you're back there. I know a lot of things have happened, other entities and what have you, taking children out and what have you. As a result of that, your right and your left hand, I've seen them down through the years. They're absolutely amazing. I want to say to you all to be encouraged. In all sincerity, I'm not related to any of you. Okay, I want to put that on the record, but I am related to you as it relates to Benton Harbor and what you do. You are Ms. Mitchell is such an amazing parent liaison. The work that you do with these families and what have you might not be the traditional way, in the traditional manner, but Benton Harbor is not the traditional way, the traditional manner. You're always so very kind, Mrs. Tyler. I think that this is a season of quality versus quantity. And so we might not have 200, 300 kids up in there. But what I think is very important that what we do in this particular season is that we focus in on who God has left here with us. And we show the people in this community and surrounding places and spaces that there is power. So thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I'm just wondering, do we have enough waters? I know there's a few people in here maybe ill or kind of coughing during comments. Can we offer water to the public if it's needed?
And math.
And hand sanitizer possibly?
And can we wipe the mic?
We might need to wipe the mic down as well. So we do have water for the public if anyone needs one. I don't think we have throat lozenges or anything, but we do have hand sanitizer, masks, and things of that nature.
Before he leaves, I think we should.
Oh, and Mr. Gunn, we just want to thank you for your video, your assistance.
He's absolutely amazing.
All righty.
Don't touch it.
Okay, next we have strategic plan update. And I know, Dr. Bus, the last time we were in a meeting, you said you have not received an official response or update. I just want to make sure that we're hearing you clearly because I know when we were in our virtual meeting with the Department of Education as it relates to the partnership agreement, they were giving us the updates and the numbers, and they were actually much higher than what, like, our kids did phenomenal. We do actually have that data. So, but I just want to make sure, have you received a formal response, like, because we have to present within a certain time frame on the partnership agreement?
We do have to present at a certain time. As of today, I just received it, so I'll be at our next work session. I know.
So you're gonna present it, are we doing it formally in that regular board meeting in March?
Informally, yes,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
okay, I just wanna make sure because we have a certain window of time before we have to present it. And each time we've asked, we've been told it has not yet been received, but it has been received as of today.
As of today, yes, ma'am.
And so we'll be formally presenting
Yes, ma'am.
in our next regular board meeting because we have a window of what, 30 or 60 days?
30 days.
Okay. All right, so we
Thank-
need to make sure we do that. And then I'll Secretary Triplett. Was it Triplett? Oh,
Gavin.
Gavin?
Thank you. I'm not able to open the strategic plan update document. I don't know if anyone else is having
Ms.
that.
Single, or Dr. Bus, can you all send that,
Yes, I'll share it.
share that with everyone? It may be a shared, access issue, but there is a hard copy in your binder as well, Secretary Triplett.
I would just like to put on the record that when anything that is sent out to us for us to review, as I stated the last time, we must be able to open it then. We cannot open these documents at this table and make a truly informed decision for those 6 of you all who read your email on a regular basis. We've got to be able to open this. We've got to be able to have access to this material. And this has been something that has been ongoing for some time now.
So I'm going to defer to Dr. Bus to provide his update. And then I would ask, I'm gonna step out for a second while he's doing so, Vice President Bowens, if I am absent. Once we get to driver's ed or wherever we are, if you could just proceed with the meeting. But I'll be back shortly. Okay, and no, Secretary Triplett has to step out as well, but we'll be back shortly. We're not taking votes until a little bit later.
Thank you, Madam President.
Well, I do think we need a quorum.
We have a quorum that's 7 people. If 2
Okay.
step out, that's 5.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh.
Yes.
You open.
I can do the bathroom.
Thank you, Madam President. Under the
It would.
strategic plan and goals, what I did was I went in and I tried to update them as we have those from some from the benchmark review. So on the first one, under academic programs, you'll see increased student achievement as measured on local, state, and national assessment. On the evidence parts, it's evidence in the 18-month bench review. And if you go to the next slide in your packets that you have, it shows that the not proficient student group is decreasing at MLK grade 3. So that's just one part of the strategic plan that we were looking at. The biggest part being grade 3, where there's a large target there. Also under academic programs, expand blended learning opportunities and technology utilization, all K through 12 classrooms. As we've just signed on with 21st Cent Ed, you'll see on the very next slide, well, I'm sorry, not on the very next slide. As we've signed up with 21st Cent Ed, they provided some goals to go along with each of our academic programs for blended learning opportunities in all classrooms. On the next one, on the academic programs, increase academic performance by 5% on state assessment. On the next slide, you'll see from the benchmark review, we've not made the full 5%, but we are gaining in both from our baseline to our 24 students at the beginning of the year for ELA and math, not at the high school or Cape, but you are seeing some growth at Fairplain East, Fairplain Middle, and MLK. Under culture, leadership, culture, learning, and environment, please excuse me, I too have been suffering with flu and bronchitis, so excuse me for tonight. On the cultural learning environment, establish a framework for student learning loops and structures for regular communication with district leadership. With the MTSS team, we've been going around with advisory councils. Ms. Nichols and I have visited 4 of our schools, learned some very interesting information from our students where we can improve. Our students at the elementary level are very interested in sports, so we'll be speaking with our interim AD to start offering sports, a variety of sports at the elementary level to start our feeder programs. The students indicated they were interested in sports such as soccer, tennis, kickball, baseball, softball opportunities. So we'll be looking into making sure that we form those feeder teams at the elementary level. Also on the cultural learning environment, implement annual attendance truancy awareness campaign and monitor student-centered activity practice. We have an active attendance campaign in progress that's being monitored through our student support services director, Ms. Cleatha Nichols, along with our truancy officer. Under personnel and leadership, ensure all staff complete required annual safe school training. On March 28th, we have a active shooter training that's designated for the district. That will be presented by Mr. Bowers, a local community trainer. Under personnel and leadership, continue to implement educators evaluation effectiveness tool. They're still in progress as principals are doing their SFS evaluations based on standards for success. Under communications and community engagement, mitigate existing community barriers to prevent family engagement. We are creating flyers for our ELL students to lower those barriers. As we know, our new administration has made policies, and many of our Hispanic students have stopped attending. My attempt is to reach out to let them know that we have a virtual program that they could attend through CAPE, and it's also with Centric, and it's able to be translated into their native language. So we still want to reach out to those and ensure that we keep those FTEs and hope possibly grow some FTEs. Under communication and community engagement, establish and implement district annual stakeholder surveys. We will be having our stakeholder survey with the master facilities plan soon. I'll be sending that information out. I did speak with Ms. Marchman last week in reference to planning another advisement meeting to give the results back from the open buildings. They are also in the process of putting together a survey for the closed buildings as well. Ms. Singer, if you would make a note that the mayor entered the building at 7:20 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under operations, complete request for proposal RFP process for outstanding financial service requests. We just received our RFP for driver's ed today. That is also in your packet that I sent to you earlier for review, and I'll go over that part when we get there before we take a consent agenda vote. So I can do a little explaining on that part. Develop a master facilities plan for educational facilities, capital improvement, and real estate. Again, we're planning the next meeting date, and I should have that for you by the next work session. And that completes the update for the strategic plan, if there are any questions.
Are there any questions? Madam
Yeah, in the
Trustee
academic-
Raquel Martin?
what- In the academic, for MLK grade 3, what I'd love to see is the fact that not proficient student group is decreasing. That means that our kids are getting better.
That's correct.
Anytime you can find a decrease in the non-proficient population of kids, that means your students are improving. And also the partially proficient student group is increasing. That's a step up. So that shows that MLK is doing better and getting things done. And also like no, it wasn't operation, but it was something in there family engagement, what hinders the parents? I think a lot of it might be transportation. Because I'll say that because I have a Y club after school. And if the parents have to pick up the children, and if there's any time that they want to be a part of it, but they have no transportation to get home.
One thing I can add,
So
trustee Rocket Martin, is that as we move forward to have our parent participate, our parent activities, you all did approve the purchase of a school van, a 15 15 passenger van that we could use to pick up some of those parents when needed. So if they start to let us know, we can go around and pick them up.
it'd be great. Thank you.
Trustee Gavin?
Thank you. Dr. Butts, I want to thank you for presenting the driver's education information.
Can you
And-
speak in your mic? Sorry.
I want to thank you for presenting the driver's education information. I know we've been, praying for that for so long, and it's become a statewide issue. I'm really glad to hear that our Secretary of State is looking to support schools with grant funding for this. And there's a huge need for us to provide that, especially for low-income families. I noticed in the proposal that there were two options, option A or an option B.
Mhm.
Are we just going with option A? I know that you said that you wanted the staff to be able to provide that service. Is that how that works?
Can I wait till I get there so I can give a full explanation?
Oh, okay. I
Yes,
thought
ma'am.
that you were, okay.
No, ma'am, I'm gonna do that part.
So I can ask those questions on that end?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So just with the strategic plan, I do have some ideas just in terms of how the numbers can be presented in a way that we can actually see the growth in the metric side.
Okay.
But I think that that's something that we're gonna have to get into a little deeper when we have our committee meetings. And so I guess, I won't go too deep into that. Just hoping that in the future, we can kind of see, not necessarily like if they had a training, but how many, what percentage of the trainings were complete, what percentage of progress was achieved, those types of things. That's really pretty much where I stand. But I think that some of it is just gonna have to be us getting in the committees and making sure that we figure out how we want to receive the information so that it works for us. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Thank you so much. That clarity is needed because it's kind of sometimes muddled when I'm trying to figure out what exactly you're looking for. So we can go over that. That would be great, and I can provide it really easy.
Yeah, thank you.
Treasurer Bradley?
Good update. Thank you, Dr. Butts. So I got a few things I had wrote down. Now as far as the ELA numbers, at our secondary level.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to stay out the weeds here. So what is the disconnect? Because, I see we're doing good at the middle school, elementary levels, but then we get up here to the high school, the numbers fall down. So what is something that y'all working on with that, or what's going on with me out?
No, you're fine.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
we're definitely working on. What we've noticed at the middle and high school and Cape, we are using Centric, which is it's a virtual program, but it has a teacher on the other end. We need math and science teachers.
Okay.
Math, science, and ELA teachers. We are currently working on our Grow Your Own. Excuse me.
Can you get him some?
We are currently working on our Grow Your Own. However, it's a work in progress. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry to jump in. The chart that you're looking at, is that something we have a copy of?
And then I know And then I'm just, let's say with the Hispanic students, I think that's probably good if we could do the virtual because in that way it could be offered in their language. And then I'm looking forward to that master's facility plan because I know we have some good things on the horizon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say on that.
Vice President Bowens, please note that I returned
That's
as of
7:30.
about 7:30, as well as Secretary Triplett.
Thank you. So earlier this year, I asked that a letter go out on our social media pages about our safe and supportive environment for our Hispanic population. I know you guys have a superintendent meetings. Do you know what the other schools, for example, all Clare schools, what are they doing to ensure that their students are safe? Are they seeing a decrease and how are your fellow superintendents handling that?
They've seen a decrease as well, but they are not, what we've done is we've had a webinar where all the superintendents across the state were able to join. They just gave us parameters and protocols to follow if Homeland Security, FBI, or ICE shows up. It's not just one agency. So I'm glad you brought that question up. It's not just one agency that'll show up for immigration. We also have to look at the fact, and I've been directing all of our principals and admin assistants to send them directly to administration. Because if they come from ICE, if it's signed by an agency director, that's not a warrant that we have to let them go through our schools. It has to be signed by a judge. We can do that. We can verify that through our legal counsel. If they're signed by a judge, there's very little we can do. If it's signed by an agency personnel, we can hold them off. We've also, in this region, Mr. Chuck Hyde and one of the state police division directors over this area has also stated that they will be accompanied by either local law enforcement, the county sheriff, or the state police if they should come. If anybody should show up without one of them, we are to call them and our legal counsel before allowing them to get to any of our students as a protection, so we can make sure that these orders are signed correctly. Also, in our policy, we have state constitution law where they can't disrupt schools. So it's not as if they're just gonna go to a class and grab someone out of class. So there are some parameters. What we're trying to do is reach out to the students. I haven't heard any of my fellow superintendents that are reaching out to their Hispanic populations that they've openly said. I am openly saying that we will be reaching out to ours, letting them know that education is still available to them via virtual, because every day that they're out is the day that they get behind.
I know it's a lot that we cannot do and our hands are tied. I know we teach our kids not to break the law, but you think about a parent sending their kid to the bus stop to go to school and they can come home and their parents are gone, or the fear of waiting for ICE to do that. I hope and believe that we at Benton Harbor area schools and the Benton Harbor community are doing every and anything necessary to protect this population. And I say this population, but they live in my neighborhood. I hear the music. I talk to them when we go to the stores. I'm just lost from words to see that we are starting to see the trickle effect. And I know they say we do not get involved in politics on the school board, but elections have consequences. And this is what we're seeing. It's devastating. And I hope we don't go down this long path. That's it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a little bit lost at where we are on the agenda.
He's doing his superintendent report and we have noticed a decrease in our Hispanic population.
Are we in strategic plan update? Okay,
Yes, sir. Strategic plan, we're noticing
okay,
a decrease in our Hispanic students attending school.
okay, gotcha. I'm following. Just to kind of center on what Dr. Buss was saying in our board president and superintendent meeting, one of the things that we talked about is that the media concentration and some of the information that's out there, some of it, which is social media misinformation, is creating a heightened sense of alarm. One of the districts did indicate that there was a teacher that thought that they could just come in and snatch students out of classrooms. And so there's a lot of misinformation. Although there has been some things that have taken place on a federal level, our expectations and our guidelines as it relates to what we do with our students in our schools does not change much as it was previously because we can't give out student information and things of that nature. So there are some internal things that we're looking at, like they made sure that they specified a particular guideline, as Dr. Buss states, as it relates to, you know, the initial point of contact at the door, making sure the staff knows who to contact as it relates to the administrator of the building and those protocols. But we already have a lot of those systems in place, and so we did ensure, along with the other districts, that we do give some type of guidance as it relates to that, but we've never been able to give student information at the door just because someone shows up with a badge. Because and one of the great points that they made in our meeting is that anyone can go get a badge and say that they're ICE. And I know that there was one particular university in the last 2 weeks where a student was apprehended because he was falsely identifying himself as an ICE agent. So a badge and a piece of paper in your hand does not mean that we have to give you anything, which is why our county sheriff assured us that if ICE or any other agency were to show up in Benton Harbor area schools, they know protocol of alarming and alerting our local police departments, as Dr. Buss have said. And so they would ensure that that proper channel and chain of command takes place. And so our district knows that if you just have some random person showing up saying that they're ICE, something's wrong, because that proper channel of communication with our local government has not taken place. And so more than likely what they have is not valid. Secretary Triplett.
I think it's very, very, very important for those who are here and those who are listening. Benton Harbor is not a sanctuary city. So it has not been impacted by ICE raid. It's good to have things in place, but we are not a sanctuary city. We have not and should not be impacted by ICE raid. And so again, we must make sure that we are informed on how these things play out. As our president said, you're going to hear all different types of things in different spaces and places. But again, just for the record, we are not a sanctuary city, and we have not at this point and will not be impacted by ICE raid. I do have a question, Madam President. As I was looking through and we came in, we did step out.
Yeah,
And I was looking at this report where it had our schools and the baseline information, and then the initial information, and the fact when we did meet, this is to the Board of Education. Trustee Gavin, myself, and President Robinson had an opportunity to meet with the leaders in the partnership agreement, and for clarification purposes. And the information that was given was not correct. Our students have made great movement forward. As a matter of fact, all of our schools, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, have met the benchmark as it relates to what was expected of us in our partnership agreement, and some have, with the exception of Kate. And in that administration, I think that was something that, you know, how do you monitor the alternative education program? But Martin Luther King Elementary, Fair Plain Middle School, Fair Plain East, and even Benton Harbor High School in the areas of English and language arts met the requirement. Some of them exceeded by 7 and 8 and 9% percentage. So one thing that we don't do is that we don't do a good job at getting the correct information out. I'm glad that you have that. And if you just got that information today, I think that that is important enough for what we experience every time we sit at this table. When people are saying that our kids are failing, our kids are not improving, our kids cannot read, our kids can't do this, our kids can't do that. We don't have this, we don't have that. And that's not true in many areas. We have a group of the teachers that we do have are committed. The people that we do have that are working in our schools are doing their very, very best. We have a lot of things that we need to really, really focus in on. And I want to say to this Board of Education, pay close attention to the attention that is being given to the Secondary Education Division of Ben Harbor Area School. Because not one person came in to take King. They didn't come in to take Fairplain Middle School. They didn't come in to take Fairplain East. They came in to take the high school. And I am kind of sad, if I do say, I don't even know what word to use, that the emphasis has not been placed on our high school. All resources, Teach Across America. There are several different things that we can do. We're not going to be able to, you're talking about grow your own. That the reports that we're getting, that's not in place. And so we have to have, I've just been sitting here waiting to see what the leadership is going to do in that area to make sure that, and not just sit on the laurels that they're the teacher shortage across the nation. Okay, so again, I don't see the rest of this, Dr. Butts, in this packet that you gave us. As a matter of fact, a portion of it is gone. So if I can get maybe is my sheet the only one that have one sheet?
No, your sheet is, I will be presenting you with the entire document.
Yeah, I'm just saying right here, because I'm just trying to compare and contrast, and it's not in here, colleagues. So we really cannot use this for us to be able to.
Yeah, I think that was just a
See it.
snapshot of the numbers, but he's gonna formally present the actual update for the partnership agreement to us in our next meeting.
No, I'm just saying that it's here at this table, Madam
Yeah.
President. I don't mean any harm.
Oh, no harm
Yeah.
taken at all.
It's not in here. It's not complete. It is available.
Unfortunately, if I may say something, Miss Trustee Gavin had mentioned in committee, she would like to give some insight on how to make the numbers more understandable to you guys. And I told her that would be a great idea.
So this is your response to
No,
that?
Right, to that right there, to that not
To
being
me?
whole. Yes, to that not having the entire packet. She
No, I'm
has-
just saying we just don't have the data. The data. It's not about the packet, the data. But that's okay. But thanks a lot, because we've already seen it. But I think our board in its entirety should have it. So if it is available, I think this information should be sent out to the Board of Education, and looking forward to the information that you received today in the email, as it relates to where we are. One more thing, Madam President.
Please quickly wrap up your
I'm
comment.
sorry. Okay. One more thing. I'll hold that thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the only thing that I would like to add, I did say this to Dr. McDermott, or Mr. McDermott, is also to our Human Resources Committee as we proceed in our work sessions. We really have to focus in on the areas where we are not making the progress that we would like to make once we get our official results. And we need to look at whether there are staffing shortages, and I think that we know that that is the part of the issue. And so once we get more into that conversation, the Department of Education, specifically Ms. Chapman, in that partnership agreement, in most of our agreements, they're asking us what can they do to support us, to help us. And so we need to be making sure that we're using as much of the funding that is available to us. If they can help us with recruiting of teachers, if there's any extra services or programs that because we need to focus on CAPE in a major way. And any resources and opportunities that exist that the Department of Education or Treasury can help us or support us in getting, we need to make sure that we are submitting those asks, because if that resource is available, we definitely need to be taking advantage of that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're gonna proceed. Next on the agenda is staff report S1. Dr. Butts, I know that you are having a difficulty in speaking, kind of losing your voice a little bit more and more as you try to talk to us. Are you this driving school document?
If I could just say a little bit about it.
Yep, you have the floor. And then are you wanting to read the resolution or do you need support in doing that?
After I do this, can you do the resolution?
Okay, trustee Doyle, would you like the honor of reading the resolution once we get to that point, being that you were the strongest advocate for this? Okay, so I'll read it. So Dr. Buss, you give us a brief update, kind of walk us through what you're presenting and what you're recommending, and then I'll read the resolution once we get there, and then we'll hold questions to after I read the resolution.
Yes, ma'am. And in your packet, you have a driver's ed proposal. This proposal has two options. What you're voting on tonight are not the two options. What you're voting on tonight is accepting this company. The two options are there because what we want to make sure is that we can find instructors. So option A is if we use our own instructors, but our instructors have to have master's degrees. So if we can't find enough instructors in-house, they would provide the instructors and train them, and we would pay the option B price. So what you're voting on tonight is not an option of students to pay or us to pay. It's just to go ahead and start business with this company so we can get them started with our school district so we can start offering these courses so that we can get our SO3 funds spent.
Okay, now that we're gonna let you pause, and I'm gonna read the resolution, and then we'll go back to questions at that time. Staff report number S1, Driver's Education Services Contract. Reason for board consideration. The district seeks a company certified by the Michigan Department of State to perform the driver training for high school age students. The district requested proposals from qualified firms interested in providing the training, all three phases of a driver's education program. Facts and analysis. To comply with the Michigan Department of Education MDE requirements, the district issued a request for proposals, RFP for driver education services. The district published an RFP for driver education services on January 17th, with proposals due on February 10th, 2025. One vendor submitted a bid and it was evaluated based on criteria including experience, demonstration of ability to meet district timetables for the work, required insurance, required reporting of documentation and compliance, and required educational level and background checks of staff. Policy reference 6320, purchasing. Funding source ESSER 3. Strategic plan reference learning environment. Benton Harbor area schools will develop, maintain, and implement with fidelity multi-tier system of support that enhances the culture and learning environment. Recommended action that the Board of Education votes to award the Driver Education Services contract to Official Driving School ODS Incorporated from March 3rd, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 as specified. Is there a motion to approve staff report as, oh, I'm sorry, we're doing them all at once. So at this time, I'll ask, is there any questions or comments on the floor? Vice President Bowens.
So, Madam President, I'm confused on what Dr. Butts just said. Because if you read this right, this is a purchasing policy reference 6320. Correct?
Correct.
So,
We're purchasing a service from this company.
so how much is the service?
For up to 100 students, it's 43,000. We budgeted, if I'm not mistaken, 88,000 ESSER 3, so we budgeted for up to 200 students to
So,
be able to take sections 1 and 2.
okay, so here's my question. Because when we had to.
Point of information.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't hear what Dr. Buss said. Can he?
Because he's struggling to speak. He said currently what they've budgeted is up to 88,000 for 200 students. Currently. And what was the first thing you said about if it's 100 students, it would be 43,000, but currently they've budgeted up to 88,000 in ESSER 3 costs, which could accommodate up to 200 students.
And we have to have those spent down. We were given
And those funds have to be spent down. We were given an extension to spend those. So he's using to utilize this particular service that's been requested by particular members of the board as the means to use those extra funds that have to be spent.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm giving the floor back to Vice President Bowen.
So the resolution.
Can you speak closer in your mic, please?
So the resolution cannot state that?
Please go back to that.
What is the question? Well, it states it's stating as he's trying to do the contract that's specified in our documents. Are you wanting him to amend the staff report to include those numbers, or I'm not sure what you're
That's right,
asking?
never mind.
No, I want to make sure I'm
Let-
understanding what you're asking me.
Let me answer my one. So what I'm saying is, we had to put option A and option B in there in case we could not find staff. If we don't have enough staff with master's degree that we can get trained, then we will have hired this company and can't do the program. But if we can't do it, the option B is there so that the onus is on the company to find the staff, and they provide the staff for us so we can still provide the service for the students by spring or early fall next year.
But I think what Vice President Bowens is speaking to is there's no money on the form. There's no dollar amount. Is that what you're indicating on the staff report?
Oh, it's not on the staff report, it's in the RFP.
We're at under RFP.
One second while they while they work through that.
Cause it feels like we're just gonna vote for a blank check and that's.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that gives the student pricing, but like you said, you have it budgeted for 100 students to 200 students.
Right.
So what I'm stating, and if I'm being picky, I apologize.
He just wants to make sure that we're not signing on for $500,000 in charges of.
All right.
Because right now in this, the way that we're taking a vote, we're voting on the contract. So he's saying there's no bounds on how much money is being spent based on how this staff report is written, is the
Got
point
it.
that
So
he's making.
it's up to the school district. It's up to us to limit that. We can limit that on our own. We can write it in there. That's totally up to the board. But we also can limit that in-house as well.
So, and you're certain that you have funding for up to 200 students, or are
Yes,
you
ma'am.
trying to just do 100 in the first year?
I'm certain I have funding for that. That was actually that's a line item budget in ESSER 3.
Okay, so could we simply, the recommended action can be, can you amend the recommended action to reflect, up to 200 students?
Yes, ma'am. Give me just
Okay.
a second.
And that could just be in the recommended action?
Natalie, are you doing that?
I just had a quick question. Do we have 200 students that could take driver's ed this year?
I would not think so because it's a fairly new program, but to Vice President Bowen's point, what he's indicating is that we're just taking a vote that doesn't specify how much money is gonna be spent. So he's just making sure that the board is not just giving a free for all of cash and we end up having $200,000 because we've gone over and above in the amount of students. You know what I mean? So it was a valid point to make because we're getting ready to make a vote that does not, and we've never made a purchase or any staff report that does not indicate a dollar amount or the cost. But it's been amended. If you all could reference it and see it behind you. It now states, can you zoom in a little bit on that for me? I'm struggling from this angle. Secretary Triplett, can you read that full recommended action?
Action that the Board of Education vote to award the driver education services contract to Official Driving School, ODS Incorporated, from March the 3rd, 2025 through June the 30th, 2026, as specified for up to 200 students.
Okay, so that sets that cap, which is what Vice President Bowen's initial concern was. I think we have a question or comment from Gavin, then we'll go Triplett.
Thank you. Okay, President Robinson, thank you for that. So Dr. Butts, I saw in the contract that it's for 100 students. right? Is that correct? Okay, so the contract indicates 100 students. I don't think we would be going over that, but I think it's great that we made the amendment. And you said that we have the funds. We've budgeted to pay for this full program for the students. My question is, I've been seeing a huge interest in the Secretary of State wanting to make sure that students in Michigan have these driver's education programs in their public schools. There's going to be grant funding coming down the way. So it sounds like this can be a free program. It sounds like we have to spend these funds now, right? Is that correct? We do have to spend the funds on the program. It's there. We'll be voting on this RFP. How soon will you need to hear from the board in terms of whether we're going to make this free for the students or not? Do you need to hear from the board, or is this a decision you can make? What needs to happen on our end to make sure that the program can be provided free of charge to the students if that's what we choose?
It is a decision I can make. However, I know it's been a big topic at the board table, and I would feel better if the board would take a vote on it. My biggest thing now is to make sure that we get them on board to get the staffing in place. As soon as they get on board and we get the staffing in place at our next work session, we can start to mull over. If the board would like for students to have a portion in there or to provide the service for free.
I think the clock was going during when Dr. Bus was responding, so I didn't get my full time. You said that you would like the board to kind of make that decision as
Yes,
soon
ma'am,
as
since it's
possible.
been a concern of the board, yes.
So if it's already funded, I guess one, what is your recommendation? Are you recommending that the program be free for the students, or do you prefer that we're charging the students? We're passing the cost off to the parents?
I actually would prefer that something is spent into the program to give more of a student interest and more
Interest.
buy-in into it. Typically, when you pay for something, that's just like when you buy a new pair of shoes, you really don't want to scuff them up, or you want to brush them up and keep them nice.
Mhm.
Unless, or if someone gives you a pair of shoes, you scuff them up, that's all right, I get another pair. I just want the students to make sure that, because this is one of those things, it was also recognized through the partnership agreement. They hadn't thought about our schools when I presented it to them, that some of our students were having problems attending programs because they lack the licensure to do it. So they have committed as well to add some additional funds in the future if needed. Right now, it's funded through ESSER 3. So if we could have that buy-in from students, I think that's really important. Now, for those families that provide the information that they just cannot afford it, and their student shows that dedicated interest, I think then we should make some exceptions. So it should be a case-by-case basis. But I do think there should be something from the student end.
Thank you. So you said you would like to have a vote by when?
At the next work session, I'd like for you to talk through it, and then at the next the next regular meeting.
Work session. And if
take
you
a
don't,
vote.
thank you. And if it's okay with President Robinson, we do have a student here. I'm wondering if it's possible to hear from Mr. Walker how he feels about the driver's education program, and if he feels like it should be a free program for the students, or if he feels like they should pay.
I don't mind that. I know Secretary Triplett and Raquette had their hand. Do you all want to go first, or would you like to hear from him regarding that direct response?
This is a part of my question.
Okay, go ahead, sir. You have thoughts on that? Should Benton Harbor area schools fully fund driver's ed, or should the students have a portion to pay? What's your thoughts? Or do you need more time to consider? You need more time. I think we do too. So are you gonna be at our next work session? Do you have plans on being at our next work session meeting?
So tonight, one of the students had the basketball game, and I was gonna have them at our next board meeting
Okay,
instead of the work session since they're a little long, but I can have them at whichever one you prefer.
even if it's just for that, that section of the conversation.
Okay,
So we can have their thoughts and then they can just leave.
I can.
Okay, we'll go to, Secretary Triplett and then Trustee Rocket Martin.
Madam President and colleagues on the Board of Education, when I attended Ben Harbor High School had its own driver's education program here on the ground. There were 2 trailers in the back of the school that we did our simulations in. And so they were simulating driving. We do not have the qualified teachers. We're looking for teachers for math and everything else. So we don't, that's not even, to me, that's not even up for discussion. If they have the personnel and the staff to do so, then we need to go ahead and let them do this. As well, I see here in the RFP that the company vehicles must hold a current Michigan registration and what have you, and I see that that's scratched out. Ben Harbor area schools had 2 vehicles that they had the brakes on both sides with the teacher having access to the brakes on the right side while the students were driving after they come out of the simulator. So I guess I'm just trying to get, I probably would need a little bit more on what this actually looks like. I feel like that we get millions and millions of dollars because our students do not have the means to afford things. And so totally, I don't think that we should tax people's pockets to quote unquote teach people a lesson. Or to see if just because they bought it or they paid for it, that they would do it. In driver's education, they usually take driver's education at the end of their sophomore year, going into their junior year. They're 16 years old. There's not that many sophomores and juniors at this particular time at Ben Harbor High School. I think that this board should take into consideration where we are, the taxes that are on our people and on our parents, in particular senior year, Johnston's, they have so much. And if we have the money in ESSER funds, if we have the money, and at the Black Summit, our Secretary of State was there also as well. She had a division there, and she did speak about driver's education and grants and funds. So I don't think that we should be sitting at this table telling people we're gonna charge you money because we're gonna make sure that you really are gonna be responsible. Our kids want driver's education. Many of our kids can't take driver's education because they cannot afford it.
Yeah.
And so please take that into consideration. Millions and millions of dollars come through this district because our kids cannot afford this stuff. Everybody has free lunch. Our Title I funding and a lot of the things that we get is because they can't afford it. So please take that into consideration, colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a water myself. Okay, we are next on Rocket Martin, and then we'll go Bradley. Bradley, you just jump in when she's done, and then we'll go Doyle.
Questions I'd like to ask.
Can you please
I've
speak
got
into
about
the
3
mic?
questions I'd like to
Do you
ask.
push it back in between your
Um,
comments or something? How does it always so far from you?
Yeah, okay. I have about 3 questions I'd like to ask. One question I would like to ask is, for our instructors, do they necessarily have to be hired or work for Benton Harbor Area School District? Or can you, get them from another place? Like there are instructors around.
So we like to hire from within the school because they're trained the trainers, and if we want to sustain this program, we like to have people here that can continue to train others as people attrition. So, but we can't get them from the out. So if we can't find enough from the inside, the onus is on the company to find somebody from the outside.
Okay, I say that because I remember if we couldn't find music, we didn't have music teachers in our district, we could get music teachers from outside of the district and still work for us.
Right.
Okay, so that's an option that we could look at.
That is option B.
Okay, that's an option we can look at. Okay, my other thing is, the training, what all does it entail? Because I know it comes in two parts. There's a first part that usually costs the most,
Yes,
and then there's a second part that's a little
like 60 bucks.
less costly, right?
Right.
That kind of just gives them the test part, and you know, the main part of it will be that the parents will have to be able to put in those hours to put the kids on the road to do it. Because I know, because I've got teenagers that I had to teach how to drive. So after that, there is a cost for your license and for taking the actual test. Now, is that included in this driver's ed?
Yes, ma'am.
The cost of the license is
Not the cost
included?
of the license, just the cost of the first section and the second section.
Okay, because I believe when the last year or the year before, it was like $70 additional. My proposal was that, you know, if the student just paid the $70 as a deposit, would not keep his money, and at the end of this he completed the course, that money would be given back to him, so he would then have his money for his license and his the driver's road test. He would have it, and he wouldn't have to worry about looking for to finish out the course. Because you can do that driving, you can take all these classes, but if you have money to take that test, you don't get it. So, you know, that part we could just hold for him. And it would be like a deposit, like I said, and you would give it back to him.
Okay, trustee Gavin. Oh, no, I'm sorry, trustee Doyle.
No.
No, Bradley and then Doyle.
I'm sitting here, I'm listening, taking everything in. I when I was in school, we didn't have driver's ed, unfortunately, because by that time, we had Cirrus, and now Cirrus, as the old folks say, Cirrus and Roebuck. They're not around anymore, but that was one of the last things my stepfather paid for was driver's ed for me before he transitioned. Actually, he transitioned on the first night of driver's ed, so that's kind of how it stuck in my memory. But I am in agreement with the students having to pay something. And I think a deposit would be fine, you know, because in that way it's putting that money to the side. You go through the program, you finish, you have the necessary money coming back to you so you can go take your test, get your license and all that. And then I know this is something for Benton Harbor students, but I'm going out on the limb here. If we have students in surrounding areas, could we look into they necessarily having them pay for it, but utilizing our program as well for driver's ed, but they would have to pay a fee. I'm just going out on the limb, just something to think about.
That'll be something the board will have to vote on.
Just for the record, my vote would be absolutely not. But that's just my take on it. But I will be open to marinating more on your thoughts, not to shut it down. Okay. And then we're gonna go to trustee Doyle.
For me, I like to piggyback on,
Can you speak a little bit louder? The heater's kind of rambling on this end.
for me, I like to piggyback on, Secretary Triplett. I think it should be free. I am one of those parents that have a 17-year-old who's ready to take driver's ed, but I cannot afford to pay for those classes. And I think that may be the case for a lot of our parents, and I'm one of those. So I would like for it to be free. I do like the idea of doing that deposit, so you'll be able to pay for the test and the license at the end, but I think it should be free.
Okay, and then I think we've heard from everybody. Dr. Bus, before we proceed in the agenda, we're gonna take this vote with everything. I just want to clarify, being that the contract currently is for 100, should the staff report say up to 100 or should it say up to 200? If we're voting on the current contract, should it be 100?
I would say let it stand at 200 so I can make sure that I spend those extra 30 funds. I'm not in favor of giving nobody their money back once they're giving it to us.
Okay, so as it stands, we're gonna proceed with our agenda because we're gonna be taking this vote later. But most of what most of our board business were things that required much discussion. And then the strategic plan updates and things of that nature in the presentation, all of those things required major discussion. It's 8:10, so we're gonna whip through the rest of our reports. So I'm going to assist Dr. Butts in reading those because he's struggling for air and everything. Everyone else is not close enough to hear him, but I can. And I'm just trying to get out of here quick enough not to catch whatever he has. I done got a little nervous. My throat is itching. So I am going to present these staff reports for him. One quick second. Okay, so staff report F1, subject monthly financial reports dated February 11th, 2025. Reason for board consideration. A set of financial reports is provided to the Board of Education each month. Facts and analysis this evening. It is recommended that the December 2024 payments be approved for all of the district's funds. Policy reference 6470, payment of claims. Strategic plan goal reference facilities and operations. Benton Harbor area schools will develop, implement, and evaluate a fiscally responsible plan that will ensure physical and psychological safety. Recommended action that the Board of Education approve the December 1st through December 31st, 2024 payments for the following funds. General Fund, $2,311,880.70. Food Service Fund, $197,002.82. Sinking Fund, 2017 Sinking Fund, $587,562.72. Student Activity Fund, $2,998 for a total of $3,099,444.24, approved for presentation to the Board of Education by Dr. Kelvin Butts today on February 11th, 2025. Proceeding to staff report F2 pertaining to the budget amendment. Staff report F2. Subject 2024-2025 general fund budget revision. Date February 11, 2025. Reason for board consideration. The general fund budget has been revised to reflect updated revenue and expenditure estimates for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Facts and analysis. A mid-year revision of the general fund budget has been prepared. This revision includes the updated revenue projections, updated staffing costs, and updated grant data. Another budget revision will be presented by the board approval in June as of 2024-2025 fiscal year nears its end. Depending on the magnitude of revenue and or expenditure changes during the next 2 to 3 months, there may also be a spring budget revision, but that is tentative at this time. Policy reference 6231, budget implementation. Strategic plan goal reference, facilities, operations. Benton Harbor area schools will develop, implement, and evaluate a fiscally responsible plan that will ensure physical and psychological safety. The recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve as presented the 2024-2025 general fund budget revision, approved for presentation to the Board of Education by Dr. Kelvin Butts, February 11th, 2025. And then our next board report is concerning teaching and learning. We did receive our Benton Harbor Area Schools annual HBCU Black College Tour presentation last week. And the 5 members that were present at that particular time did get an opportunity to ask questions. So I will proceed with reading that staff report as well. And I did request that the board send any questions in advance to Dr. Butts. He indicated he did not receive any. Teaching and learning staff report number T1. Subject request for out-of-state overnight field trip for students at Benton Harbor High School dated February 11, 2025. Reason for board approval. The board shall approve field trips and other district-sponsored trips that are planned to keep students out of the district overnight or longer and or out of state. Facts and analysis. Benton Harbor High School requests to take high school students grades 10 through 12 on a college tour. The tour will allow students to visit HBCU, historically Black colleges and universities in North Carolina. Students will also experience college life and acquaint themselves with curriculum information, entrance requirements, and financial aid resources. The trip is scheduled for April 11th through the 17th, 2025. This trip will accommodate up to 40 students. It is estimated that there will be 4 chaperones. This field trip will be Title I granted and student funded. Policy reference, policy 2340, field and other district sponsored trips. Strategic plan goal reference, academics. Benton Harbor area schools will increase student achievement as measured on local, state, and national assessments. Learning environment. Benton Harbor area schools will develop, maintain, and implement with fidelity a multi-tiered system of support that enhances the culture and learning environment. The recommended action for today is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the HBCU field trip as presented. Approved for presentation to the Board of Education by Dr. Calvin Butts on February 11th, 2025. And then the last field trip, CTE field trip to Notre Dame, which is staff report T2. Subject, field trip to University of Notre Dame, dated for today, February 11th, 2025. Reason for board approval. The board shall approve field trips and other district-sponsored trips which are planned to keep students out of the district overnight or longer or out of state. Facts and analysis, the Benton Harbor High School CTE program is requesting permission to take several high school students to Notre Dame University for Building Trades Day on March 7th, 2025. During this event, students will engage directly with industry professionals through hands-on activities, career discussions, and interactive demonstrations. The students will have the opportunity to learn about various skill trades, explore apprenticeships and training programs, and gain insight into work for expectations from experts in the field. The objective of this trip is to provide students with real-world exposure to construction and skilled trades careers, allowing them to build professional connections and explore post-secondary opportunities. The source of funds for this trip will come out of the CTE Building Purchase Services Fund. Policy reference 2340, field and other district-sponsored trips. Strategic plan reference, learning environment. Benton Harbor Area Schools will develop, maintain, and implement with fidelity a multi-tiered system of support that enhances the culture and learning environment. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the field trip to the University of Notre Dame for CTE students as presented. This is approved for presentation to the Board of Education by Dr. Butts. Now, Dr. Butts, this is new, or am I mistaken? I don't believe that this was presented to us in our meeting last week.
This was not.
Okay, so don't we normally have some additional corresponding information? It says several, but we have no idea how many several are. And are these students staying overnight or is this a turnaround?
It's a turnaround. It's a day trip, but if you want to defer it because it's in March, we can defer.
Can we defer?
We can defer.
Okay. Does anyone have any objection to that, to tabling T2 or not including it in the consent agenda? Or do you all want to just let it roll and rock with it?
I say
Okay.
let it roll. Rob.
We can let it roll. I have no objections.
A quick question.
You
President
you
Rob.
have the floor.
So I thought when we did the consent agreement, that meant that we didn't have to, like,
Well, I'm just reading through because this is the thing. This board has never allowed us to do one consent. And what I do not want to happen is to get home and someone say I tricked them on something that was voted on what we're voting on. And especially being that T2 was something we didn't discuss. I know how my board members are. I'm just making sure that everyone knows and understands clearly what they're voting yes to.
they voted for a consent.
I know, but
Now
so
it's-
we're not gonna, I'm not breaking it apart. I'm just making it clear where everything is being included in this one vote. Because now don't act like y'all don't know how y'all are.
Just saying.
So I just don't want any confusion and somebody sending me an email saying they don't remember taking a vote on that. I'm just making it clear what all is being included in this one round of votes for these 6 or 7 staff reports at one time. It makes me a little nervous. Secretary Triplett.
This is the thing, Madam President, that concerns me. And I've said it over and over and over again. For this report to be on this agenda. For this report being on this agenda and us not knowing. And I'm grateful that you did go through and read them. You know, but these are the kinds of things, in order for you to do a committee.
I'm just gonna read one more and then we're gonna take votes. So I just need 1 minute. If he can pause for 1 minute. Go ahead, Secretary Triplett. Dr. Buss is feeling ill, so I'm just trying to get us through.
Of the committee of the whole. It has to be a well-oiled machine. We cannot do this. And I'm going to call it out and say it every time. This is important. It's very important, Madam President. And please, y'all, we can't take it lightly. This is our responsibility as far as taking care of business. And now we ready. We've already discussed everything that we're gonna bring to this table. For the most part, we were familiar with all of these things, and now we got this. So thank you so very, very much, but I do want that on the record. This cannot happen. If we go into committee of the whole, this stuff that come before this board must be previously discussed. If not, it cannot come without this board knowing. I don't care how pressed it is, how illy prepared Central was in getting this information to us. Please pay close attention. Thank you, Madam President.
You're very welcome. And then I'll read one last, and then we'll let Dr. Bus go so we can take this vote. Staff report H1, employment of staff dated for today, February 11th, submitting for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis under section 1120 of Title I, Part A requires a participating local educational agency to provide eligible children attending private elementary and secondary schools, their teachers and their families with Title I services or other benefits that are equitable to those provided to eligible public school children, their teachers and their families. Policy reference 2261, Title I services, 3120 and 4120, employment of professional staff, support staff, strategic plan goal reference personnel leadership. The Benton Harbor area schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. New hires submitted today: Kayla Graham, paraprofessional at River of Life Schools, Title I, effective date 2/12/2025. Recommended action at the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff. Approved for presentation to the Board of Education by Dr. Calvin Butts as of February 11, 2025. So at this time, I would ask, is there a motion to approve staff reports B3, staff report S1, staff report F1, staff report F2, staff report T1, staff report T2, and staff report H1 in one consent agenda as noted?
Madam President, I support what you just.
Okay, the motion has been made by Vice President Barnes. Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made. Woo, you go home. The motion has been made by VP Barnes and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So I'm gonna say this, Madam President. Some of this stuff I do not think was fully vetted. And I have concerns. But in democracy, sometimes you have to give a little. And I'm going to do that. I also am disappointed in the presentation that I'm going to say you was sick. But I think that driver's ed proposal should have been more detailed for us. And I have some serious concerns. If we're starting something this year and gonna make sure the grant is ran out, what are we giving the kids next year or the year after? We're not playing a level playing field. So I will go ahead and support it, but I want us to look at the bigger picture.
All right, if there's no other comments, and I would like to say thank you, Vice President Barnes. I could have teared up when you said in the spirit of democracy, you will give a little, because I think that just your statement in that alone is evident of how much growth this Board of Education has made and taken to be able to stand unified and support each other. And also although voting in a consent agenda makes me nervous, and I know you guys are ready to go, I read everything because I want everyone to feel fully comfortable in taking a consent agenda. And so I'm proud of you all, and I'm proud of the growth that this Board of Education has made. And no matter what is said on social media or, in public, we know that we are growing, and we know our district is doing amazing things. So at this time, we're taking the votes as noted on the consent agenda for each of the staff reports that were originally presented. Again, B3, S1, F1, F2, T1, T2, H1. The motion was made by VP Barnes and supported by Trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
B1 is not in there.
B1, we took that as a solo vote, and then we did the resolution to protect the Department of Education as a separate vote. So we're only doing B3 through H1.
Okay. Roll call.
Yes.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, and just to assist with record keeping for MASB Board of Directors, Directors, everyone voted yes on B1 and everyone voted yes to the resolution.
Yes.
Okay, and I only chose to have them stand alone because I feel like the person that we put forward for MASB is extremely important, and I wanted the resolution piece to stand on its own as well. So thank you all for the work, Dr. Butts. You can exit now if you'd like. Old business, as a reminder, you know, we have our board retreats, but we have our new schedule, so we'll be following up. I did want us to have a finance training as the topic for the next board retreat. Believe it was 307 is what I wanted to do. However, they do suggest that you, I think it's 307, but they suggest that you have taken 103 as a prerequisite. I believe, I'm not mistaken, 6 out of 7 of the board members have taken that. I will not notate for the public which board member hasn't, but you know who you are. So what I would suggest is that that person look into getting AMASB 103 taken virtually to ensure that you are in alignment with the recommendations by MASB if the board does proceed with taking that financial training. I have nothing currently for new business. Vice President Bradley, Treasurer Bradley. Treasurer Bradley.
It probably was gonna come up in board member announcement comments, but we did lose our former Performing Arts Center facilities director, Mr. Ron Linus. And he was a very, very big part of Benton Harbor High School in the school district. He kept the PAC running as a fine-tuned machine, and he was the key club advisor as well. So just wanted to say that out publicly. A lot of events that happened at this high school, at that PAC, a lot of us in the district knew Mr. Linus was back there in that back room.
All right,
So
thank you. If you, do you know if they've had any funeral arrangements
It's
posted?
on Stock and Mechna right now. I think it's next week.
It's next week, next Saturday.
Okay, so it's next Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you all could send that to me, just send it to the board, either one of you. I have no problem with going and reading a resolution on our behalf, or another board member can. I agree with Vice President I'm not trying to be funny. Treasurer Bradley, I agree with Treasurer Bradley. I was actually a member of Key Club and worked very closely with him, especially for things like fashion shows. We did a lot of community service projects, but it also taught us how to handle business of planning events. So he was an amazing mentor and teacher in our district in that capacity as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Moving right along with
President Robinson.
yes.
Okay, so I thought we had a facilities option, but just under new business, just looking at what's going on tonight, I think that it's important for us to do something in regards to fully sanitizing our buildings like we did during COVID and going back to kind of a safer way of moving forward. There's been, an outbreak of all types of things. And so just, wondering if we can kind of reenact certain protocols so that we can make sure that
Want to
our
speak to that?
Discovery Enrichment Center and all of our schools are.
So Dr. Buss is gonna speak to
Sanitize.
that. You caught, I know that they did do an early release to do that recently, but you can speak to what your efforts are.
And removed it.
Actually, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Last week we did do all buildings after we had, it was an outbreak, so it's been a state outbreak. And last week we only had, we had very few teachers and students to show, so we let school out early. We kept the custodians here. We did all offices and classrooms. And if we see the need again this week, we'll do the same thing.
Thank you.
And we will also on Friday evenings until this outbreak starts to lower, I'm making sure that we do all classrooms and offices with the 360 machines, Clorox 360 machines.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, is there anyone present for open public comment? I would ask that you wait until you're at the mic to speak. And do you need me to read the public comment statement? Do you need me to read the public comment statement, or are you familiar enough?
Think I'm familiar.
Okay, you have the floor.
I believe I am. How is everybody?
Amazing.
Anyway, now you're probably ready to go. What I want to say about all this sickness and everything, make sure that you wash your hands. I know it sounds like, what do you mean wash your hand? Wash your hand. That is how they stopped the plague back in the day. Washing is something just that simple. Washing your hands. I say we break out hand sanitizer. I mean, we got to be like doing COVID tactics here almost in a way, because I know somebody at my job had COVID. So we got to start, taking care of ourselves around here, because I'm telling you, this disease, I don't know, for some reason, it's coming stronger for some reason. So wash hands. I say, I wrote down this acronym. It's a winter acronym, pretty good because under freezing, make sure all your clothes are clean. Make sure you don't put on too many clothes where you sweat and you overheat. Dress in layers. Make sure everything's dry. Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. And for sure, wash your hands all the time, whether you think you need to or not. And that keeps disease down. But everybody stay safe. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. All right, so in the absence of our superintendent, we're gonna proceed with board members' announcements and comments. Trustee Doyle.
I just like to thank everybody that came to our meeting tonight and everybody who's online, the parents. I like to say I think we just did a great job tonight. I can't believe we're getting out of here at this time. Great job, team. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I would like to say on the record that there's a certain person that's murmuring threats in my direction. I won't say who. I don't want to end up on the virtual shoe shot. What is it? Sharpshooter show. Being recorded saying it, but I will put that on the record. You better hold your peace with me, brother. Trustee Gary. That tickled Trustee Gary. It's your comment.
Sorry. Off guard with that one. Thank everybody for coming out. I think that this board did a phenomenal job. And I'm really excited about what's possible. I definitely want to take, some time to encourage my colleagues and Superintendent Butts to just kind of think about what it's like for the parent that does not have the income that some of us are blessed with. I know sometimes we see our kids, the sharpest students in the world during prom, and we don't realize that there are some students who didn't go. They didn't have all of the things that we've seen. And so I just, hope that between now and the next time we meet, we have just an opportunity to reconsider the equity issue in terms of providing education. Driver's education is a life skill. It could even be a CTE course, and education is already paid for. And so we're getting all of this money, almost twice as much, to provide the service. And the Secretary of State is interested in funding the program moving forward. So here we have the money. We can provide a learning opportunity that will give our students an opportunity to just take the class. I am for incentives in terms of grades and attendance and things of that nature, to encourage them to take it seriously. But I believe they want to drive and they will drive whether they have the license or not. We have an opportunity to make sure that they can drive legal, that they can put themselves in a position where they can get a job, and that they're not having to compete with other students who have more money than them. I think that as a public school, we have an opportunity to move finances as a barrier out of the way. And so this is a moral opportunity to do what's right for our kids and give them what many of us got so that they can actually be productive citizens. And so I just want to encourage our folks to do that. I want to encourage us to get down in the data and make sure that we are making sure that what is happening in Discovery Enrichment Center, those students learning and being excited about learning, that we are elevating their academic excellence from DEC all the way to the high school and beyond. And so I'm excited about what's possible when we get in these committees and we offer the education that we know that our kids deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have trustee Raquel Martin.
You know, I also.
Please pull your
I also
mic
did some
back
training
so we
this,
can hear you.
In the Winter Institute. I took like 4 classes this weekend. Yeah. And one of the classes I took was advocacy, shaping public opinion. And one thing they did say was to begin your board meetings and end your board meetings with something positive. And so I am thankful for my board for doing that today. I see that this is the way that it actually should work. Our work session, we got work done. Our regular board meeting, we were able to vote and go right along and do what we were supposed to do. And that's supposed to be how it works. So I appreciate that and the way that we did handle that. I also would like to say that, you know, as people bring things to us, look into it, see what the motive is behind it, and get facts. Because to believe somebody else's report more than to believe our report, I mean, the information that's given to us from the state of Michigan is a problem. So I would encourage everybody to, what do you say, Mr. Triplett, stay on the wall, stay on the wall and keep fighting. And we are fighting for our district, and don't come down. And don't come down. And you know what, people can say things in the hopes of thinking they're lifting your district up. And all the time, they're really dismantling your district, blaming you for doing what they are doing. So be careful, be watchful. And Benton Harbor, we are Tiger Strong, and we are Tiger Smart, and we are tigers on the go, on the move. So with that being said, this last little thing, Kids in the Kitchen, Fairplain East Elementary School, February 14, 2025. They have a Valentine's Day special edition. The chef, executive chef, Mark Hudson's, he's gonna be at their school from 9:45 a.m. to 11:30, working with the children in the kitchen, dipping strawberries and chocolate and all those kinds of things. So if you get a chance, go over and look at it, be with them. And with that being said, I give my time back.
All right, Treasurer Bradley.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everybody for coming out. If you're watching, thank you for watching. I just want to say sometimes I have a crazy idea. Thank you, Vice President Bowen, for explaining why my idea was crazy. He broke it down why it was crazy. And next time I'll research before I throw an idea out there.
Which idea was it?
We can talk about
Okay.
it. And I didn't mean no harm when I did that idea.
Okay.
We gonna leave it alone. I want to say to our student board member or board members, stay encouraged. This is how me and Vice President Bowens got our start. So, you know, you never know, 10, 20 years down the road, you may be sitting at this table. You know, come to the meetings, request that you get the information that we get, you know, outside of the stuff that we can't share with you, and research. You know, I can tell you some of the board members that were on there. And I mean, it's a good opportunity, and you'll learn how government works. So take it seriously. You know, if you have concerns you hear every day in the school district, because you're here in the school. You know, we're out doing our 9 to 5s and whatever, you know, but you're here in the school district. You know, you see something, the students are complaining about something, write it down, take it to the superintendent. It may be something that he can resolve right then and there, but if it's something that's major, one of the major issues when I was a student school board member was our band director retired And then we didn't have a band director for the first semester of my senior year. And I asked them, hey, can I sit in on the interview? And I interviewed our next band director, sat in there, listened in on that. And then the other thing was school uniforms. So we wore uniforms back in the day, believe it or not. So stay encouraged, keep coming, get involved. I mean, it's fun. And like I said, you never know. You may say, hey, I'm getting tired of the way things are going, 5 years, 10 years down the road, and you may be over here at this table, but then you'll have that foundation and experience. And then the other thing I want to say, please let our webpage designer know, Miss Booth, that she's doing an excellent job. I was just playing around on the website, looking up some policies the other day, and I was like, oh, okay, this looks really good. So I want to end with that, and I'm glad that we all are here and y'all stay encouraged.
Secretary Triplett.
Thank you, Madam President. I too am glad that we are getting into the norming part of the work here. I'm so very, very proud of that fact. I too, with Trustee Gavin, I don't know. I don't know with the driver's education, with all of the money through ESSER, how much has really gotten down to our children. During the prom time, we have many of our students that are driving out here without license and what have you to go to the prom. This is an opportunity for us to be able to, I don't understand it. I don't feel like, as Trustee Gavin said, okay, we're Black. We have jobs. Some of us, do have jobs and what have, so we can afford it for our kids. And just because parents make a sacrifice for their kids to go to the prom, you don't know what kind of sacrifices they made for those kids to go to the prom. People, oh yeah, look at them, they got on these $1,000. It doesn't matter. That's not our business, because sometimes families pull together. I remember with my cousins, it was 17 of us that lived in a house, 3 sisters' children. And when they went to 12th grade, everybody pitched in so that everybody would look good. And so we got an opportunity. It just kind of throws me off that we feel like we're going to teach them how to, we're going to teach them how to show that they're loyal, and we're going to charge them. And I've heard parents say, I don't come because I don't need them to teach me anything. And every time I come, somebody standing before me trying to teach me and don't know nothing about what I'm doing, ain't paid not one bill in this house, making these assumptions that our kids will not be dedicated. And so there are ways and parameters and other ways to say this is the expectation. And where we're not eliminating them, we're not canceling their opportunity. If they don't have the things that's necessary for them to be able to be successful, then if we got the money, it's not my money. That money, ESSER funds and stuff, was given for our kids. If we go through and look at them, how many things were just individually done for an individual student? Seriously. So, and I do with my colleague, I am so sorry that you have and someone else has been called the vice president all night here at this Board of Education, as close as we work together. The Black Summit was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed myself and going back to the driver's education. The Secretary of State was there, and they had a booth that said that's what they're doing, and it should be exclusively for our kids. Our kids cannot go into these other people's schools and do anything, but we are always opening everything for everybody else, and nothing is exclusive for our kids. And that's how they take our kids. So let's be real. It's going to be some tough conversations, but I'm ready to have them. Thank you, Madam President. I want to say in closing that I love you. At our last meeting, it was very contentious. We were under a lot of stress, but I want you to know that I will forever respect you, and I know that you're going to respect me. And when we don't, we'll have outbursts like that. And you know, you're supposed to say, you were supposed to call me back that night, but you had 3 days and you did not. Thank you.
Vice President Bowen.
Madam President, before I speak, I would like to ask, can we allow Lonnie Walker to speak?
Would you like a comment, sir? Okay.
We didn't offer him an opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you for putting some respect to my name. I just want to say thank you. It was so beautiful to have our kids that was present at the Michigan Black Summit representing Benton Harbor area schools from the elementary level. It was just beautiful on the news coverage, and thank you, Secretary Triplett, for your help in being our facilitator, although you may feel like that's so flunky. You know, and Deshauna, it was just you, Madam President, I'm sorry. It was very well received. She talked bad to me and told me off and went back to presenting. So I just at my own show. So I never been disrespected like that.
It's upset.
I had to realize I just got read.
You had to get something.
But you had to be there to see it. So, no, in all seriousness, we also lost a former colleague, a former board member president, a former coach for Benton Harbor area schools, Mr. Leroy
Yeah,
Harvey.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask if we can take a moment of silence for him and Mr. Ron Linus. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So I will just bring us home. I would first like to make sure it's fully understood that I do not feel threatened at all. That was made in joking nature. And anything that was said to me was jokingly, but I just wanted to lighten the mood in that moment. I also want to clarify that I mean no disrespect to Vice President Bowens by calling Treasurer Bradley the wrong name. I'm just so used to saying it collaboratively when calling him, and it's no different than Secretary Triplett calling for Treasurer Creighton, who's no longer on the board. It's just a force of habit when with how we're used to titles we're used to having in certain names. So I mean no disrespect. I know who my treasurer and my vice president is. I'm very proud of the Board of Education for the work that was done tonight. Excited about everything that we took vote on, but I think the thing that I am most excited about is the resolution to protect the Department of Education, the Committee of the Whole, and the Driver's Education Program, because those are new changes and bold steps that have been made. And so I'm proud of this board for taking this opportunity to make such strides as a Board of Education. And I'm proud of the work and the collaboration that is being done at this table. I would ask that we continue in that spirit through the year, that we work collaboratively together, that we talk to each other when we differ on certain proposals or ideas, and we continue to work collaboratively at the table to try to get the work done. And I'm not sure exactly if you could just read it, Vice President Treasurer Bradley, if you could read it for me, what you're wanting me to say or what you guys are trying to show me, because I have both you and Bowen's phones, but I can't quite process what you're showing me. So go ahead and read it.
It was for, you got the same information too for Mr. Linus. Service is going to be, his memorial service is going to be next Tuesday, February the 18th. It starts, family funeral homes and cremation services starts in Menchinger Chapel at 2650 Niles Road, St. Joseph, Michigan. The service is going to begin at 10 a.m. The visitation is going to start at 10 a.m. and service will start at 11.
Thank you very much, Treasurer Bradley. I really appreciate that. Trustee Doyle had one quick comment.
Just one quick thing. I would like to give ourselves a hand because we did the thing today.
All right, so as stated, you guys are an amazing board. I appreciate you tremendously, and at this time, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Secretary Deshauna?
It doesn't bother me because I know who I am. I
make a
stand
motion that we
confidently
adjourn.
in it.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Bradley and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Yes. No, I.
Hearing none. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
Secretary Robinson, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
Been there, done that. Doesn't bother me. I've done both.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I told my name.
You being petty with me.
Yes. Treasurer Bradley. Yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Madam President, quorum has voted to adjourn this meeting.
All right, so I adjourn this meeting officially at 8:51 PM. You all have a great night.